Hi, welcome to the Online Jewelry Academy. I'm Professor John Ahr and I'm your instructor. And no, I'm not going to play baseball today. I would be picked last. I had to play with the girls team and I had to pitch. And I don't live in a bad neighborhood and the studio's in a good place. I don't need this to walk out to my car. We have an alarm. So what do I do with it? I bet you have some bats laying around too. They're easy to find at yard sales, and you might have one in the attic that the kids left behind. So what do you do with this thing when you're not playing baseball? Well, you can turn it into a really useful forming tool in your shop. So let me show you what you're going to need. You're going to need pencils and an eraser because you probably are going to make a mistake marking this thing. I know I marked this one wrong the first time I did it, so get out an eraser. And you're going to need two measuring tapes. You need a rigid one, a metal one, and one that's more loosey-goosey. One that came out of your sewing kit, maybe. You're going to use this tape measure in combination with some double-sided tape. That's so it will hold the right place so you can mark your lines just right. Then you're going to use a carpenter square or machinist square to get the lines perpendicular so that this thing actually functions properly. Now you can cut it with a jeweler saw, they're sharp, but you may need something a little more aggressive. Most jewelers have a hacksaw somewhere in their toolkit, but if you don't have that, run out to the garage, see if you have a wood saw, or maybe somebody has a bandsaw out in the garage. That would work too. Alright, let me show you what the shape of the bat does in terms of presenting you with a few problems in your measuring. Number one, not all bats are made the same way. This one has a dimple cut out of the top of it. Some of them are rounded off. And if you have an older one that's rounded off, it's hard to hold the tape measure on this end, which means that you'd have to turn it around and attach the rigid tape measure to the base of the handle. All right, so what we're looking for is we want to measure two areas. The first area should be somewhere in the middle of the bat to give me the smallest circle that I would need to make like a small baby bracelet or small bangle, some small round unit. And I say that would be right around here. Now, lucky for me, this bat's painted and I could follow one of the paint lines to cut it there. But if you've got a completely naked bat, you're going to have to measure that line. Also, I'm going to need to measure somewhere towards the end or the base of the bat here, because what I want to do is I want to create a tang. A tang is the part of a tool that fits into a handle or into a vise. So I want to create a tang so that this thing can stand upright and that I don't have to hang on to it when I work with it. I can let the vise hold it. So I'm going to measure the depth of the dimple and then measure a little bit further back. So measuring the depth of the dimple isn't hard. If you have a bat like this, all you need to do is take your tape measure and just insert it and look to see approximately how deep the dimple is. Then just add maybe an inch or two to it. Now, this is easier to do with a friend, so you might want to recruit somebody to help you out. But if there's nobody around, you can do it yourself. All I need to do is just open up the tape measure and lock it. Then I can attach it to the end of the bat and easily just make my markings repeatedly over and over again at the same point. And in this case, I'm measuring 2 inches from the end of the bat. That way I can mark all the way around the circumference of the bat. And then to make the midway marking, I would just pull the tape measure out and repeat the same process in the middle of the bat. Okay, so now let's talk about creating the tang at the end. Basically what I want is a straight piece with notched out areas that runs with the grain of the bat. If I went in opposition to the grain, I might just break the tool the first time that I hit it when it's secured into the vise. To do this, I need to first figure out how big around the piece is. So you're going to take your loosey-goosey tape measure, add a piece of double-sided tape to it, and what I want to do is secure it right at a point where I've made those marks 2 inches from the end of the bat. And I'm going to wrap it all the way around and keep the edge of the tape measure on those little dots. And when I get to the end, I notice that the circumference of the bat is 8 inches. So what I want to do is I want to leave a 1-inch width of material as the tang. So if the bat is 8 inches around, I will subtract 2 because I need to leave an inch here and an inch on the other side. So that leaves me with 6 inches. Divide that by 2, and that tells me that I have to remove 3 inches on either side. So you can see where I've left 1 inch here, and I've counted over 1, 2, 3, and marked here, left another inch, and then marked 1, 2, 3, and got back to here. Now when you mark for the tang, to get the lines of this tang straight, this is where you need to stand the bat up. And you're going to use the carpenter square, and I'm going to look for the spot where I measured and draw a line. Now I've previously drawn the lines for the tang. Takes a little while to do this to get it absolutely right. Okay, so once you've drawn all 4 lines in order to line up where the tang should be, you need to cut it. Now what I would recommend is start cutting in the middle. Reduce the length because this is going to be a lot harder to control. So get a good placement of your measuring in the middle and then just start cutting. And like I said, you can do this with the jeweler's saw. Now when you cut, be sure that you turn the bat to follow the line and just keep cutting all the way around. It'll be slow when you first get started, but you'll pick up speed as you get further along and deeper into the wood. Okay, I could finish this with the jeweler's saw. If that's all you have, it'll take a little bit of time, but go for it. But I'm going to go to the big gun here. Now, something that you may have noticed that's making it easier for me, because the bat is tapered, I have a piece of wood holding up the other end over here so that it's pretty much straight when I'm cutting it. All right, so let's go into that notch that I made and finish cutting. So you notice that as I'm doing this, I'm still following the notch and I'm turning the bat so that I make sure that the cut is straight all the way around. Now it takes a little bit longer to do it this way, but it'll work. Okay, we finished cutting the bat into 2 pieces. Now, this side, don't throw it away. You might be able to use it for another forming purpose. Maybe you coil some wire on it, or maybe you leave it in your car and it's the little billy club you have around for security in that parking lot. But this is the part we're interested in for being the tool. So now it's less wieldy, we can actually deal with it. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to make the cuts along this edge down to the lines that I drew earlier to create the tang. And again, you want to be very careful to follow the lines, so you are going to be moving the bat slightly while you cut it. All right, let me see what I can do to get this started. Okay, so you can see that the cut goes from that edge of what will be the tang all the way around to the other edge of the tang. So I just need to repeat it on the other side. As long as you follow the line, you should get it right. Okay, so we've cut the bat on both sides, leaving an inch on either side for that tang.
And now you're ready to cut the tang.
The best way to do this is set it into a vise and lock it in. And what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take your saw and eyeball, keeping an eye on where the bottom line is and lining up the blade at the top on this curve with the line that goes down the shaft of the bat. Now be careful, because these blades can warp and kind of go off course if you're not careful. So take your time while you do this. So you're just going to cut along this top edge and draw it into the line that goes along the long shaft of the side. Okay, so if I keep cutting like this, I should be able to get this part straight and then be able to cut straight across and do it to the other side. Okay, I think it just needs a little bit more from the side. There you go, one side done. Now you have to muscle through it, but you can see how we kept the line straight and took off one edge like that. So I just need to repeat this on the other side, but this will give me a nice area to grab onto with the vise when I use it in the vise. Okay, let me get ready and do the other side. There we go. Alright, so we've notched on both sides and created a perfect tang. Now this one, because of the dimple, we have a little bit of excess material here that could be just cut straight off. But if this fits in your vise, why bother? So let's try putting it in the vise. And you can see how this fits perfectly into the vise, and now you're able to work on it. Now in the future, we're going to show you some projects that you can make using a tool like this. Anyway, have fun making your bat mandrel. Check out our other videos on the onlinejewelryacademy.com, and you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for watching.